Hello, and welcome to the Mile High Game Guys daily recap, GenCon?
Sounds about right, yeah.
Daily GenCon recap, day 3. Mm-hmm. It feels like 4, because we were here Wednesday, which was technically a day 0.
Yes.
Much like our numbering for our podcast, throws everything off by 1.
Yeah, we never make it easy.
But when you do 100+ episodes of podcasting, it doesn't hurt so much when you think about there just being one extra episode that doesn't count. Yeah. But when you do 4 days of daily recaps,
you feel it.
You feel it. You'll learn why soon. Why we feel it exceptionally well right now.
Yeah, it's a busy day for us.
It was a busy day for me.
Yes.
You got to hang out with your friend all day,
and I slept. So.
Yeah, and you took a nap.
Yeah. Felt great.
It must have been phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
I was up early. Everyone else was up earlier.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to do Blood Bowl today.
Mm-hmm.
As by the word supposed, I was like, hey, I should use that press pass as much as possible and go and just see a ton of games.
Yes.
And that's all I did all day. Mm-hmm. I almost waited in a line. Almost.
Yes. And then
we're like, hey, demo that. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. Yes. Because all I want to do is buy sleeves.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, but you had to wait in line for sleeves.
You had to wait in line for sleeves, yeah. Because CJ fucked up. BFF CJ fucked up and was like, oh, they're out of gray sleeves. And I was like, no, they have a fuckload of gray sleeves. I could see them right there after we went back later.
He's like, no, those are clear?
Those are clear sleeves. And I was like, oh, you are so dumb. Oh, you are so dumb. Because I bought green, thinking they would fit like Terraforming Mars and Gloomhaven.
Yes.
Because I like clear sleeves. I just like clear bullshit sleeves.
And these are Fantasy Flight ones.
These are Fantasy Flight sleeves.
Instead of using sizes, they're like, it's green or
It's green or gray or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, just give me the grays. And they were like, they weren't green colored. They were clear. And then clearly in his mind, they were like, they're all clear. And I don't know. It's hard to tell sometimes.
Well, I mean, if you aren't used to that.
That's true.
Yeah, so.
That's true. You know what? I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I'll never do it again.
Yeah. CJ, my bad. I expected more of you. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to you.
I'm the one at fault.
It's my fault.
It's just like in Dark Overlord. Anybody who gives my character anything, it's their fault for doing that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. You were just so dumb.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I don't know where I was going with that at all. I don't remember why we got into sleeves or shopping. It was because I wanted to play everything.
Yes.
So we had... we're talking about being up early.
Why were they up early? Why were you guys up early?
I was not up early because I didn't play Blood Bowl, because Blood Bowl started at 8.
Yeah.
I think Ant got up at like 6:30 this morning.
Why?
Because he wanted to eat and get coffee and then go.
Okay.
And it's been the first time in at least 2 years he hasn't had a raging hangover to be able to play Blood Bowl.
Right. That's because he was actually trying to win this year.
I mean, he's trying to win every year.
Yeah.
Unless he wants to be most fouls.
Yeah, that one you don't play that. You don't play most fouls to win. Also,
that's very correct. So they got up very early to be there by 8 to play.
They played 4 games.
They played 4 games over 9 hours.
Yeah, they were done right after like 5:30.
5:30. So 9.5 hours of Blood Bowl. I think there was a lunch break in there.
Oh, I'm sure there was. Yeah.
As well. David finally flip-flopped onto whether he was going to play Chaos or if he was going to play Dark Elves. He finally landed on Dark Elves.
How'd that go for him?
Bad. Really, really, really bad. Because he was up against Lizardmen. Lizardmen again.
Oh, man.
And then I believe it was Chaos on the last one. So
those
kind of a bashy stunty team, and then a bashy team as Dark Elves. Right. Instead of him going Chaos and just being able to like, I'm a bashy team, I'm bashy against
Let's try
all of
something different. No.
And you've been bashed into the ground. Welcome to your poor choices.
Right.
The first game, he played against the guy who ended up getting first place.
Oh, okay.
He had a Lizardmen team that was, so it's skill packages, so you can choose like 6 regulars, or 4 regulars and a double, or 2 regulars and 2 doubles, or something like that. Yes, I believe I am correct.
I I will defer to you.
Yeah. I was going to be playing like 2 guard and 4 block, or like 2 guard, 2 block, 2 break tackle.
Okay.
But the guy that won went just straight 6 block, put it all on his sore eye, and ended up getting first at the end. I think there was like 16 teams overall, and
I feel like there were more last year.
there was a lot more last year. Last year was like a 26, 30 teams.
Oh, wow.
It was a vast tournament last year. That was the first major GenCon after I think the new edition came out.
Okay.
So that's probably why. So David got not last. That he was in game 4 for him was to like whoever lost was getting the wooden spoon last place trophy.
Right.
Paul with his dwarves with a death roller, which is not a tournament thing you do, got weirdly most casualties on like 11 or 14 or something like that, which is pretty low for 4 games. But
especially with it seemed like a bunch of Bashy teams too.
yeah, just in general. So he was getting lucky on casualties overall. Ant was playing Norse and trying to win because Ant wants to be the #1 North American player.
He was actually playing his Norse team?
He was actually playing Norse because he wants the points for his Norse team to be ranked #1 nationally. He ended up, I think, middle of the. He never said what his actual rank was.
Right, but he lost his first one, right?
Yeah, he was like basically all 3 of them. Paul, Ant, and David were like 2 wins and 2 draws, or 2 wins, 2 losses. They were both pretty average on everything. I think David did go 2 losses, a draw, and a win, or like a loss, a draw, and 2 wins, or something like that, because he ran out of time on one of his matches that he would have won because he was clearly, but they ran out of time. But Ant did end up with the best defense award.
Is that less?
That is the least amount of touchdowns scored against you.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
There's also a trophy for best offense. Best offense is usually also the first, like the #1 first player award, but you can't win more than one.
Right.
So you win first you win first place, and then whoever got the most touchdowns after that, I guess, can get that. But then sometimes that's second place.
And you can choose between second or that. Yeah.
So you're like best offense.
It can move down a bunch.
Yeah, your best offense could be like your fucking 5th place.
Right. Yeah.
Which is weird.
I mean, yeah. It could be like you have the best defense, most casualties, and then best. So it could be 7th place.
Yeah, because you only get 1 trophy.
Right.
Because there's even like best painted is a trophy. Like you could have perfect or the best offense and best painted, and you get to choose which one you have, and you're like, I want to take best painted, and then it's going to like 8th place.
See, technically you could have best team, best painted team, best offense, best defense, and casualties,
most fouls.
Most fouls.
Yep.
I don't know how you'd be able to do all of that, but
yes. The Ant, I think, has said in the past that the like best offense is not a good trophy option in general. He doesn't do it for any tournaments he does.
Yeah.
He does like casualty, first, second place, last place.
Gotcha.
That's about it.
There you go.
The basics.
Right. Yeah.
So that was Blood Bowl. That was an all-day affair, which we were not a part of.
No,
we were just kind of checking in and out on that one.
Basically, what would happen is we're going to tell you about a bunch of stuff we did, and imagine in between each of those events, we just went to go see what our friends are doing, and then we're like, thank God we're not here, and then go somewhere else.
And then go do something else.
Yes.
So the first thing we wanted to do today, we wanted to go over Grey Fox, sponsors of said podcast.
Yes.
Are they sponsoring this episode, technically? No. Okay, so they're not the sponsors of this episode.
No.
But they are our sponsors on the other episode.
Yes. For the Wednesday ones.
The Wednesday ones. But we wanted to go see their new game, City of Gears. We were trying to get their first thing.
Yep. And I was because the vendor hall opens at 10.
Yes.
I was there at 10 minus about 15 feet.
And distance matters
Yeah.
because the wall between the event hall and the expo hall does not open until 15 minutes after
Yep.
the expo hall opens up their other doors.
Yeah.
So you have to walk around to those doors and then walk in.
Yeah, and
So-
I was like, I'm here at 10. They're not opening. What's going on? And then I saw a sign off to the side. It was like, these do not open until 10:15. And I was like, God damn it.
I guess I'm walking around.
And then I didn't get there till about 10:10, which
Yes.
right at the same time as you got there.
Yes. They already had demos going. Like, of course they did, because
Yeah.
people swarm all over everything.
Yep.
And everything has a chair full.
Yeah, especially because they had their production copy now.
Yes. So the first 2 days, Thursday, Friday, they did not have the full production City of Gears because whoever was bringing it into the country, their visa had expired, and so they had to turn around at the border and were like, sorry. Unfortunately, they were able to somehow get them the full production company.
9:15 today in the morning.
Yeah, so 45 minutes before the expo hall opens, they get their full production copy of City Gears, full thickness board, all of the minis, except the, I guess there's Kickstarter deluxe versions of minis that are like wooden or something like that,
Yeah.
and there's like a Juggernaut bot or something like that that is cool and big. And all the dice were there
Yes.
because we had seen some of their other prototype dice on other games, and we're like, oh, okay.
These look like prototype dice. Yeah.
Yes. So we were waiting for the first demo of City of Gears to wrap up, so we decided to go over to Blizzard because I had not gone over there since 7 a.m. Thursday.
Yeah.
So it was mainly Hearthstone that was kind of happening over there.
They were in the expo, or not the expo.
They're in the expo,
They're
in the event hall.
the event hall, yes.
They have a big store, which is probably the easiest you've ever been able to buy any Blizzard items
Oh, I'm sure,
at any
yeah.
event in a very long
Yeah.
time.
Well, this is the second time they've ever been here.
Yes, I think we mentioned that yesterday
Okay.
when they were here for the trading card game, and then they're here now.
Yep.
But they have grown with BlizzCon to be a merch nightmare. And you could just come here and just buy merch, like some of the really rare stuff. I wish
the
I had
like $300 Diva one or $475 Diva mech.
Yeah,
I
like
think it's crazy.
yeah, they had a lot of stuff on display, so it was just really cool to look at
Yes.
in the first place. Because I love Blizzard and Hearthstone and things like that. I wish I had seen, there was like a Hearthstone memento box that looks like the Hearthstone board, like fold out thing, like when
Nice.
you go into the login screen.
Yeah, yeah.
It was very expensive,
I'm
but
sure.
I was like, that would be really cool. And then I looked at I had wandered over there later in the day and looked at price. They have like little laminated sheets of
Yeah.
everything they have for sale, and I was just like, these are really expensive.
Unsurprising.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were buying them.
Oh yes.
So I'm sure they were like, we should probably go back next year.
I hope they do.
Yeah.
At very least it's fun to look at.
Yes.
Hearthstone has a new expansion coming out in
Now?
3 days.
Okay.
So that's what they were promoting that a lot. All the tables had like little weird trivia challenges and stuff on
Yeah.
them. Like when was the last time you saw a name all of the mechs that Warriors have had before this expansion? Like I was like, fuck if I know.
You're right, yeah.
Maybe it's none. We played Hearthstone.
Yes, we did.
Because there was a fireside gathering, which if you're in the same location, you can be like, hey, we're all in the same location. Blizzard set up the actual event, and it was like an actual, like the Tavern Keeper
Yeah.
event. Basically, you all log into that, and then you can just challenge anyone else that's in there. You get a card back, and then if you do the Brawl, which is always kind of like weird random rules that change every week. I think in the Fireside Gatherings, they change every month.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But you play 3 of those, and you get a Warlock character portrait. I remember when that came out, everyone was real huffy about having to do a Fireside Gathering to be able to get the Warlock portrait. I distinctly remember everyone pissing and moaning about having to do that.
Sounds about right.
So I finally got it. You got it.
Yes, I
We
did.
were just playing each other the whole
Yeah.
time while we were waiting for City of Gears.
And really weird decks because it was just 3 cards and they had 10 copies of each.
Yes.
And so you did the smart one and you're like, what was it that had the...
It was I played an even lock, so I had the Mountain Giant that cost 12. I had Gen Greymane, who gives your hero power to cost 1 if you only have even cost cards in your hand. And then I had the Twilight Drake that costs 4. It's a 4/1, but it gets +1 health for every card in your hand.
Gotcha.
This is basically an even hand lock is the name of it. And if I start second, I start with the coin, and I can start dropping 8/8 Mountain Giants on turn 3.
Yeah, those are pretty nasty.
And it helps when you have 10 Mountain Giants
Yes.
in your hand. I did play against a warrior when I went over there to charge my phone because they had chargers in the middle of all their tables, which was very nice. I played against a warrior that had it's Dead Man's Hand that takes it takes your hand and just puts a copy of your hand into your deck. Like if you have 7 cards in your hand, all 7 of those cards just you get shuffled into your deck. And then he had another one that I don't remember I don't really ever see it played, but it gives you 10 armor, and it costs 2, and it lowers the cost of all minions in your opponent's hand by 2. So he was just spamming that for armor.
Yeah.
Thinking like whoever is going to be playing him, even if they have free minions, don't have enough damage.
Yeah.
Except I had 8/8 Mountain Giants that I'm playing for 0, and a 6/3 Gen Greymane that I'm playing for 0, and so I was able to out damage his like
armor,
crazy amount of armor he was pumping out. Anyways, that was Hearthstone.
Yes.
Hearthstone's so great. So then we went and played City of Gears.
Yes, we got a chance to play it.
Yes. The full ass production copy.
Which looks great.
Yeah. It's kind of a steampunk. It reminds me a little bit of the movie Robots.
Okay.
Because the robots look like that.
Yeah.
That's really all that reminds me of that. But except it's also supposed to be like a city that was built by, I don't know, the Willy Wonka of steampunk.
Yes.
Or something. And it's he died, and then the city was overgrown, and then you're a bunch of investment companies trying to rebuild the city.
So you're trying to explore and see what actually was in the city.
Yeah, like uncover all of the buildings because they're all face down, and then you're putting them all face up.
Yeah.
Moving your robots across the city. You rolling dice for like movement steam, gears out of a bag, and zaps.
Yep.
And I think it was only
It was just those 3.
Yeah, and then like some that are like either or sides on there. The gears let you draw gears out of a bag.
Yep. And also activate tiles too, because some tiles have a requirement of
Yes.
gear. It basically gives you a gear resource, and you can use that resource to either when you activate a tile or to draw gears from a bag.
Yes. The gears that come out of the bag you can draw once out of the bag, so you kind of want to get your orders correct to where you're either drawing all of your gears early or using your other abilities to be able to draw gears first, and then you can draw more, but you can only ever use 2. You can put 1 on your player board, and then you can put 1 like face down as a connection between all of the buildings.
Because that's how you actually get access to the different tiles.
Yes, you have to kind of build gear bridges to all of the different tiles in the game.
And the gears you put on your player board are development, so they have player powers.
Yes.
And
sometimes they're one use only.
Sometimes they're one use only, but they're all very
different.
And very powerful, but in a lot of things are powerful.
Yeah, they're broken in the sense that everything is broken.
Yep. So I go ahead and tell you, Adrian's not going to like the game.
From minute 1, it's going to be like, well, you got that fucking gear that lets you do that. It's like, you didn't even use any strategy for that. You just won because you had that.
Yeah, you just drew out of a bag.
Yeah.
Tisk tisk.
I just drew off a ship pile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's because we didn't know the odds of the gears in the bag.
Yes, we don't know the odds of the gears of the powers
odds
in
is
the bag.
1 out of whatever, how many gears.
Yes. So the beginning of the game is uncovering all of these different tiles. There's 9 different ones of 3 different colors, green, red, blue, that have general symbols on them that kind of get you bonuses and things like that as you play and activate the powers on them. You can get bonuses depending on where your gears connect, so you're kind of making a circuit.
Yep, and you activate from one side and you can only do one path. So technically, if you had gears connected to everything, you could activate every single tile.
Which would be nice.
It would be really nice. But if you have like 2 split paths and you activate in the center, you can only choose one side to go through.
But there is interactivity in this game.
Yes, there are.
The little lightning bolts you roll on there, they let you move a robot from like you somewhere to anywhere else along your connected thing, just kind of like a zap.
A teleport sort of thing.
Yeah. But you can also use those to destroy other people's robots.
Yep, because this is an area control game.
Yes.
In the game...
Dudes on a map?
Dudes on a map. Dudes and gears on a map.
Dudes and gears on a map.
Because area control is based on what robots you have and what gear connections you have. So even if you don't have any robots there, if you have enough gear connections, you still can win.
Yes.
Like that spot.
It counts as like one power towards that area. And then you can use 2 of the lightning bolts to destroy someone's gear connection. So you can totally seal someone off until their next turn because they're still only building 1 a turn.
Exactly.
Which can be brutal.
Yep.
Don't get in that situation, basically.
No, yeah.
Don't get sealed off from the board, from your factory.
Right. And so, how the game, once you've uncovered all of the tiles, then you get 4 opening day gears put into the gear bag.
Yeah, you flip over all 9. Then there's white tiles that don't do anything except that they're white.
Yep.
When you pull one of those out, that kind of moves the
game clock
down. And when you draw that 4th one...
Third one.
Third one, 3 of 4.
Yes.
The game is over.
Immediately. So there's this is the final action, so let me just try and...
finish the turn or whatever.
Exactly.
No, you draw the gear and it's over.
Yes.
So if you draw a gear at the beginning of your turn, your rest of your turn is done.
Yeah. I mean, and technically, this could happen as soon, depending on, like, if you got...
As soon as they go in.
As soon as they go in, and you're like, oh, I just got to grab 3 gears, let me grab 3, and you grab 3 of those, and it's just like, all right, well, the game... So it has a very variable game length.
Yes. I do have to say, there are a ton of gears in there, so it is a very low chance of that actually happening.
Just make sure you give a good shake, or you're grabbing, like, from...
Yes, really, really rummage through the gear, the gear satchel.
Satchel, yeah.
Yeah, I like the word satchel.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That's a good word. So we played like 3 or 4 rounds. The tiles themselves got uncovered fairly quickly.
Yep.
And then I got surrounded, and we actually scored kind of at the end of what we were doing.
Yeah.
I
Even
think
though we played 1 round after all the tiles were revealed.
Yes.
So.
And then we just kind of did a quick score to kind of feel what endgame scoring was like.
Jeff got a Jeff score.
I got a Jeff score. It was 5.
And then
I think you got 22.
I got 19 to the other guy's 22, but that's because he was able to do a lot of space, and I was like on at least in one turn, I was like, I could expand myself, or I could have just attacked Jeff from anywhere. I should just do that.
Yes, it's definitely like this is a demo, and who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of situation.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah, I like it as well. Adrian will probably not like it.
No.
As soon as someone gets something more powerful than him out of a random drawback, and then he's going to be like, I'm out.
Yep.
Everyone needs all the same. Yes.
Yeah.
But there's like 27 tiles or something in the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of different tiles that have a lot of different powers on them.
Because they all have different building powers and stuff on each tower. There's like a casino that lets you roll a die and get like victory points at random. You can install permanently robots into the board.
And there's one of the ones was like, you can activate this tile, and then anyone else who's on a green tile has to give you victory points.
Yeah.
And if there's no other green tiles, then it's a useless tile.
Yeah.
But there were 4 when we were playing, and so I was able to get victory points from everybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had a tile that let me take 2 dice from 2 different players. I would give them each 2 victory points, but then I would be able to roll 5 dice because you start with 3, and then I would get 5 dice. You can get a 4th. You get a 4th when the city when you put the white tiles in. You get another die for resource.
So I explore the city so you can sort of full production.
Yes, but then you could be like rolling 6 die for production. But you have to use everything for the most part because there's only 1 of each thing that you can keep over from turn to turn, or everything else spoils.
Right.
So you can't just be like, I'm going to save everything.
Yep. No, it's but it was interesting. I definitely like to see.
Yeah.
I'm really glad we got to do the production copy versus the playtest copy.
Yeah, everything was sort of like thin plastic card, little chits and stuff like that. So it was nice getting the full impression.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. The only one in the period, I think. Like a lot of GenCon.
Yes, yeah.
The designer of the game was also there.
Yep.
He had apparently not seen it yet.
Yeah.
During our demo, he walked up and was like, oh, I want to touch these things in this game that I designed and haven't seen yet.
Right, yeah.
Apparently they had gotten it in, and then like someone else that was in his room or something like had opened it up and played around with it before.
Like his sons or something like that.
Gotcha. They were like, oh, look at this game that my dad designed. And then he still hadn't seen it. And he was like, you shouldn't have been the first.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was City of Gears.
Yes, it was.
After that, we wandered around some more.
Yep.
I spent some time in Fantasy Flight today.
Yes, you did.
I did not wait in line, which I started, and then we were within line of sight of...
Well, what happened was originally we were going to go walk towards the Keyforge because like it was Arkham Horror was busy, and so we were like, let's go Keyforge, and then we ended up going the wrong way, and then you passed by the store, and you're like, ooh, I think I see gray sleeves, and so we had to go in the line.
This is when we found out CJ's dumb.
Yes.
Yes.
We passed by the Heroes of Terrinoth, and you're like, oh, yeah, I wanted to look at this game, but people were
demoing
it, and we're like, okay, well,
there was only 2 demo tables, I think, for it.
And so we're like, all right, let's get in line. We get in line, talk for a minute, and I look over, and I see all the 4 people
getting up,
and I'm like, Jeff, it's open.
And then we were in line, and then it was at least 3 minutes of me being like, do I wait in line? It was not a long line.
No, you were looking at the game, turning around, looking at the line, going back and forth
for minutes.
Yes,
minutes. And then I was like, all right, fuck it, let's go and play.
Yes.
So we demoed Heroes of Terrinoth,
which is basically a rethemed
of Warhammer Quest.
Yes. Revamped. So.
Yes, yeah, it's kind of revamped 2nd edition Warhammer Quest with the Runebound universe on there. I had never played Warhammer Quest. We had a guy come in after we had started and be like, hey, is there a spot? And I wanted to be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
No. I saw it in your eyes a little bit. But
good. I'm glad you saw it.
Yeah.
Like, no, he already explained the rules. I don't want to sit here for another rule explanation.
Which luckily it didn't take too long, especially because
he had played the Warhammer Quest before, so he sort of knew how everything worked.
It was basically this is this in here, and this is this in here.
Yeah,
okay,
cool. This mechanic changed. You can have as many success tokens as you would like.
And he's like, all right, cool, got it.
Cool, got it. And then my fury subsided.
Yeah.
And I played Warhammer Quest / Heroes of Terrinoth for the first time.
Yes.
For a couple rounds.
Yes, we did.
There's some monsters of the generic types.
Yep,
goblins.
Rat swarms, stuff like that.
There's a face down and face up, and they kind of go in front of you. It's sort of got it kind of reminded me of Civilization a little bit.
Yeah.
You have like attack,
Yep.
explore, a heal, and
the
aid, the one that I never used.
Right.
Like heal thyself.
You're right.
There's 4 different classes, and all of their abilities are different from each other.
Yep.
It involves rolling like white dice and black dice.
Yes. I was the mage, and so like my attack was ranged. I didn't have to engage an enemy in order to do it.
I made a really good joke
Uh-huh.
because there's monsters that are face down
Yeah.
and they're in the shadows,
Yeah.
and you cast magic missiles. I was like, if you cast magic missiles at them, are you casting magic missiles at the darkness?
Yes. It was appreciated, yes.
Yes.
I was like, I get that reference.
I understand that
Yeah.
reference. But instead, you shot a goblin that was face up next to you
Yeah.
that was attacking Wes.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone chose me to go first. And then we learned that the first monster that comes out will go to whoever's the first player.
Yep.
And so the monster attacked the healer immediately.
It was all right. It was,
It was
okay.
fine. But you roll a variety of dice that have different facings on them. Success, exploding criticals.
Yep. Yes, I saw some exploding criticals.
Yes, you did. And defense die.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone has a unique hero power. Mine was turn a defense into a success.
Yep.
Which helps when you're trying to heal other people and not like, or if you have a monster engage with you, like defending against whatever
I mean, really,
their
for
black die
or
would have been.
exploring or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's like 3 stages. We started in a tavern, and then we ended up in the woods. And as you move through the game, you level up at each like scenario card has like an end boss and 3 stages in there. Some are more complicated than others,
Yeah.
and there's a bunch of them in there, and they're very different from each other.
Yes. But the intro one was very much, you're just getting slightly stronger.
Yes.
But the other ones we saw was like sieges and things, and you had to, it was like,
And the
whoa.
turn timer goes like back and forth.
Yeah, and we're like,
and
okay, this looks like it gets more complicated.
Yeah.
That's good.
as you level up, you can like specialize in 2 different classes. Mine was like Spirit Seer and something else here healing related.
Mine was rune casting and then like enchanter or something
Yeah.
like that.
But that lets you kind of specialize your character in some
Yep.
way. You get basically an upgraded basic power, but once you choose one, you have to keep going on that one, and each class has 4 different ones.
Yep.
Then you fight monsters and engage them in a variety of ways. If you ever are doing anything when you have a monster engage with you, it's just sort of like, hey, you roll a black die that can make bad things happen. But you can also help and assist, like, kill other people's monsters that are on them.
Yep. And black die is a chance for the monster to counterattack while you're doing something. But
Yeah.
you have those shields can help protect against
Yes.
it. So
A lot of icons and stuff in the game. Shocker.
yeah, right.
And then there's like a travel phase, a monster phase, when the monsters will have like a little AI track of what
Yep.
they do. Like if the witch doctor's engaged, he'll like hex, and then there's a little special hex ability. There's a bunch of status effects like focused and wounded and things like that. It seemed like a final copy. Nothing really seemed like it wasn't production, except maybe the tokens were a little thin.
Yeah.
If they're that thin at the end, I'm like, But all the cards look good.
Yep.
I kind of perused through everything, and it seems like there's a ton of different monsters, like a huge deck.
And like there's 3 versions of each class or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
it seems like there's a lot that comes in there.
yeah.
I want to buy that game.
I would like for you to buy it as well.
Yeah, that was very enjoyable.
Yes, it was.
I'm sad I missed out on Warhammer Quest
Yeah.
at this point, but
But hey, it's
now I have the version that will continue for
exactly instead
without
of being like, oh, this is great, and it's over,
and
oh,
it's
no.
gone.
Yeah.
So after that, you went off to meet with a friend
Yep.
from out of town.
Yeah. Went to some great place that has a lot of cheap but good quality food.
Was
and
it a good price?
It was a great price.
Did
and
they have good drinks?
They had. You're never gonna believe it. They had 32-ounce Long Island iced teas.
Wow. What was this place?
It was like Live Hate or something, or Save Hate or no, it was Killjoys.
I think that's not right.
Kilroy's.
Kilroy's.
There it is. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. I was trying to make a joke, but then I messed up
Boo.
because of later drinking earlier today, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we are both very tired. I am very tired.
Yes. Yeah, I went to Kilroy's.
Kilroy's. So I was hanging out with Wes a little bit, and then he wandered off to buy, I don't know, like 40 more dice for some reason.
That's what he does. Yeah.
That's what he's done the whole convention is buy dice.
Yep.
But I hovered around some Arkham Horror 3rd edition tables, which they had 3 of, waiting for a game to end, which one did.
Yep.
They'd been doing basically 2 rounds, 2 full rounds.
Gotcha.
This guy did something different.
Was it like the center of the like middle of the game or something like that? Or?
So it was so he was running the game, but every time they ran 2 rounds, he would just end the game where it was, and then the next group would just come in right where they left off.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So you got to see little bits of the game.
Yeah.
So this one was actually quite a bit in.
Yeah.
Probably either 2 to 6 rounds into the game.
Yeah.
So I got to play some more because that other demo was kind of short because it was getting towards the end of the game, the expo hall day. I learned how the map is set up. The map is set up depending on which Ancient One you're fighting. On the back of the Ancient One card is the map set up. And you put all the tiles down how the Ancient One that you're fighting against says that the map should look.
Gotcha.
Because it's a modular board.
Yeah.
There's something called anomalies. Whenever you have 5 doom in one area or 3 in one space, you get an anomaly in there that you have to wipe out the doom to get rid of.
Gotcha.
Instead of having regular encounters in that area from their colored deck, you'll get a special anomaly deck that has to do with the actual Ancient One.
That makes sense.
And then whatever more doom you get in that area over that amount will go straight to the Ancient One's card.
Gotcha.
These events are still not just straight bad things. They can be good things or bad. Sometimes they can help you, sometimes they can hurt you, much like all Arkham Files games. I was playing as the reporter, the one that can only succeed on 6s.
Okay.
They have a new focus system in this.
Gotcha.
Where you can put a focus token on there, and it just gives you an extra stat in that one.
Okay.
Or you can spend it for reroll.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Mine could have unlimited focus, and I could have 2 per stat. And so I was spending a lot of time just trying to load the focus on there. I also had someone had gotten a really good item card at some point that lets me, whenever I fail a test, reroll as many dice as you want. So I got basically 2 chances at everything to get 6s. Also, I had a trait, because everyone has some people have traits.
Right.
If you ever fail a test, you just get a free focus.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. I did. I don't think there was much combat. I don't think there was any combat in this version, which I did see in the previous one. The monsters weren't really moving in this one because they were sort of in the little in-between connector areas.
Oh, okay.
Their whole thing is they just spawn doom around them, and you have to go to them and kill them.
That's rude.
Yeah. The combat's just rolling strength. And it's 5 pluses.
Right.
I didn't see any crazy monsters. They're all just basic cultists. 1 success and it's dead.
Right. Yeah.
All the event cards seem pretty cool. It's still, there's no more like shops or anything that you can go to and be like, I'm going to use an action to go to the shop.
Right.
You just have to get it in the encounter cards.
Oh, okay.
And same as Arkham Horror, I think Eldritch Horror had like, this is generally the kind of thing that will happen if you're here on the encounter cards, like getting unique items, stuff like that. Lots of cool little event items that you can get, like becoming memberships of various clubs, I was down on the docks and I had to do something, and I found a bunch of contraband whiskey that I could go somewhere and sell it for like $2 each or something like that. But it's like pulling items out of the deck that have that name. Much more story-focused, thematic-focused on one thing. It's not just floating around to like, we made all of these cards that say a ton of different things. It has that Arkham LCG, like I've made this comparison before, but it feels like Arkham Horror LCG, the board game.
Right, yeah.
It still has there's no deck building or anything like that in there, but a lot of those story book mechanics from there, where you move on to the next chapter, are like straight out of that.
Gotcha.
And then the mythos phase is drawing tiles out of a bag to spawn tokens and make bad things happen.
Of course.
Yeah. So that was Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. I'm very excited for that.
I'm excited for it too.
CJ has already pre-ordered it.
Shocking.
Yeah. I probably will not pre-order it, but I will definitely buy it.
Yeah. I will be like, hey Jeff, I'm at Black and Red randomly. Here's Arkham Horror.
Here's Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. You want it? And I was like, yeah, yeah, I do. After that, I wandered over kind of to the Star War area, because that's where Keyforge was.
Yeah.
Keyforge was swarmed at all times. Everyone wants to play Keyforge.
That's like Star Wars Legion last year.
Yes, correct. So I played Star Wars Legion this year.
So you hear that, Keyforge? We're coming for you next year.
Yeah, next year. I got you. Hopefully you last. So I went over and was looking at Star Wars Legion. They had 3 tables set up. They had smaller square tables last year. It was like Endor and Tatooine. They had a really big Hoth one this year.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
And because they've come out with like snow troopers and
they've
some
come out with a lot of expansions for it, yeah.
So I was sort of just one of the demo guys was playing this kid that through the game, and I was just kind of standing at the end, just like watching them play. And he was like, "Oh, do you want to hop in?" And I was like, "Sure." And then he kind of did like a really quick rules rundown, very basic. And I was like, "I'm very familiar with tabletop wargaming, so I get it." Kind of the hooks in this one is there's 3 different colors of dice: white, black, red. You use black to shoot and hit things with. Then there's white and red. The black dice are D8s. Okay. And then there's white and red.
Is it a straight D8, like 1 through 8?
No, it's like Imperial Assault, where it'll have...
They're bullshit symbols.
Yes, they're bullshit symbols. Okay. But they are very similar to... There's like, hey, this is the little triangle for defense. Yeah. It's a different triangle.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
This is a surge.
Okay, is it more of a like isosceles triangle?
It's more of a rounded, smaller triangle. It's very tiny, actually. Especially because there's only it's so tiny. I don't know why it's so tiny, because there's not multiples on any of the die facings that they could have made that bigger. There's a surge symbol. The surge symbol depends on what unit is doing and when it's doing it. Right. The red die is better than the white die. Like my rebels can surge into defense when they're defending, but the stormtroopers can surge into attack when they're attacking.
Gotcha.
Things weren't going. So the demo guy was playing this kid for the beginning of the game and was getting slaughtered. Probably because the demo guy, because he was just like, "Meh, have fun," and then I took over and I had to pull all the pieces back together. Gotcha. Okay. Darth Vader was charging.
So you were the rebels?
I was the rebels.
Okay.
I had Leia, Luke, like an AT-RT walker. Okay. It's like a little kind of individual pilot sort of walker thing, but it's got a minigun. Okay. And then I had a fleet trooper squad that had already been wiped out, and a mostly dead regular, Endor-looking troopers. I had 2 squads of them left over, but they were in trenches waiting for the stormtroopers to come to them, basically.
Okay. Gotcha.
Then he engaged Luke, and then this is where kind of all the abilities and stuff come in. How you activate things in this game is you have a tile for each unit you have in the game that matches that unit type.
Right.
So I had like 2 trooper types, a mech, and 2 heroes. You shuffle those all together in the tile stack, and then you flip over the top tile. And that's the type that you have to activate. Okay. And then it's alternating activation. Right, so I activate one, he activate one. I got to activate my mech last, but that means Darth Vader was sort of right in front of him. Yeah. And then I got to roll like 5 D8s nice. Into Darth Vader. When normally you get like 1 D8 per character that's in the squad. Did a bunch of damage to him because he has like decent defense, but not that much.
Not many kind of defense.
No. And then the next round, I got to activate. I just happened to be able to activate that first. Did it again. Killed Darth Vader.
Nice.
Just like, brrr, brrr, and Darth Vader was done.
Okay.
Downside was I only had like 2. He also had like the speeders from Endor.
Yeah. Lancers, yeah.
They have a cool thing where they have like a compulsory move because they're moving so fast.
Yeah, they have to move.
They have to move, and then they act, and then they can move. Then they do their actions.
Gotcha.
I blew them out of the sky.
Nice.
I had Leia. Leia has sharpshooter. They count since they're moving so fast. They always have cover.
Yeah.
Which they can just like, oh, you have a hit. Just like I auto save a hit. Leia has sharpshooter. She ignores cover.
Nice.
And so she was just like, pew, and gone.
Nice.
I was doing well.
How does the movement work in there? Is it
if you've seen
fantasy flights? Oh, okay.
If you've seen Armada, where it has kind of like a two segment thing with like an angle in it.
Yep. X-Wing has the same thing too.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Which I enjoy.
Cool.
Because I don't have to get a tape measure out
good.
and be like, you move 8 inches,
Yeah.
you move 12 inches. You just like, I move 2 segments,
Yep.
I move 1 segment,
Right.
I move. So there was like kind of like a small one, a middle one, and
Yep.
then like a big one. Same with the range ruler, because everyone has it's 3 segments of range.
Yeah.
Small, medium, and large.
Yep.
And it's just sort of like, am I in range? Then all the heroes have a ton of powers and
Right.
stuff they can use. So we just sort of shot at each other. He was a 13-year-old person playing tabletop war game. They have clearly not changed since back in the day. It was kind of like when he was trying to move his speeders, he was doing the compulsory move, and he kept like moving them and then moving them back, and then moving them kind of slightly different, and then moving them back, and then moving them, and then moving them back, and then be like, and then moving them, doing an action, be like, oh, I don't want to do that, moving them back, and then every time he did it, they moved slightly wrong to the point of where they were far farther than they should have been, or like declaring an attack, rolling dice, and then be like, oh, sorry, I wanted to attack that guy. That happened at least 5 times, and I was just like, well, you already said you were attacking that one. That means those dice are gone, and like they were undercover, but those ones weren't undercover. And since you clearly have rolled well enough to hurt the other ones that weren't, you've clearly changed. I was like, well, you already said that.
Yeah.
Also, like, I mean, it was also a demo game,
Yeah.
but he was getting a ton of rules way wrong.
Yeah. But also, I'm not falling for your bullshit, kid.
Yes, that's kind of what it was.
Yeah.
Even the other guy was like General Veers was there, and he could like activate he was like, okay, and then I can use these stormtroopers to also fire.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, where are you getting that? He was like, and the rule was like you could activate 2 other units to get an aim token for their next activation, which lets them reroll 2.
Yeah.
And he was just like taking 2 of them and just rolling their attack die. Like that was like way wrong.
Yeah.
So 13-year-old tabletop miniature players, still not wrong. Still not right. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I enjoyed it for its simplicity. Some people need to roll buckets of dice. Ant.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed that you didn't need all of that nightmare
Right.
to do it. I'm not sure what scale this game was or how many points or how even to build anything, but it was an enjoyable thing.
Enjoyable time.
Yeah, because like the way that the like vehicle-sized units worked, they had a little slot in their front that you would actually slot the movement thing into and angle it out because they had facings and stuff like that, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Star Wars Legion. Cool.
Cool.
During this time. After this time, so
Around this time.
I floated over to Newveau Games.
It's not Newveau.
Not Newveau. That's Stockpile.
Yeah.
Yes. Burgle Bros. Paperback, hardback.
Yep.
Published by
Tim Fowers.
Tim Fowers. Designed by.
Yes.
Could have sworn Newveau.
No.
Anyway, saw that he was there. Never seen him before, but he was a man in a leather bowler hat. So I thought, that man looks like a game designer. Maybe I should say hello to him.
Nice.
And it ended up being Tim Fowers.
And it's Fowers Games.
Fowers Games. Okay. All in the same Tim Fowers cinematic universe.
Yes. The good old TFCU.
Yes. Adrian and Paul had met him at HeavyCon, and he was there with his new game Sabotage, which is coming to Kickstarter. And he had chit-chatted with Adrian about getting us like a print and play copy or something like that for review. Super nice guy, as everyone had said.
Right.
Chit-chatted with him for a little while. We're going to get together and play Sabotage early Sunday morning before everyone heads out.
Yep.
And then he was like, well, are you guys looking for any games? And I was like, well, we like own everything already. And but I was like, well, we don't have Now Boarding. And he was like, here you go, and just handed it to us. And he's like, yeah, we're looking for media covers and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. Put it in my bag and said thanks and wandered off with more words than that. But anyways, we ended up over by Blood Bowl again.
Yes.
And I handed it off to you, CJ, and Wes.
Yes.
And I was like, hey, here's this game. And then you played it.
Yes. So it's a cooperative game.
It's about airplanes.
It's
about airline travel, I guess.
It's a very simulation aspect of airline travel.
Yes.
Basically, all it is there are cards that that are face down. It'll say on the back. It'll be like Atlanta. So you go to Atlanta, you go pick them up, you put them into your plane, and now it tells you where you want to take them. And say they want to go to San Francisco. You can go to San Francisco, and if you drop them off there, then you get money for turning them in, and then you basically keep repeating that cycle, except every round. So say you only have a movement of 4 to start off with, and it'll take 8 or 9 movements to get to San Francisco, and you're like, okay, that's just 2 turns. But every round, 2 more passengers are going to come out. So
they all need to go somewhere.
They all need to go somewhere, and there's 6 or 7 different spots they can go to. They can start from and then go to. And so, in the beginning, you're like, oh, okay, well, you'll just go here, pick up this person, and then, go here. And because you can also drop off passengers. Not at you can drop them off, obviously, at the place they want to go. But you can be like, yeah, I'm going from Atlanta, but I'm going up to O'Hare, and then I actually need to go to JFK, and you're wanting to go to San Francisco, so I'm just going to leave you in O'Hare, and I'm going to go this way.
If only airlines did this.
Yes. And so they will basically be sitting there until somebody else goes like, all right, I'll come get you now. I'll come drop you off.
We're just going to leave you here. Someone will be by sooner or later.
But every round, 2 cards come out, and then when you get into the second, so that was the morning phase. When you get to the afternoon phase, that's going to be 3 people a turn now. And then in the evening phase, it's going to be 4 people a turn come out.
I see.
And so you really get halfway through the second phase, and definitely in the third phase, you're like, oh my God, all of these guys are coming out. Now you can up once you get the money that you get from turning in the fares, you can get faster jets. So you basically add more engines onto your jet, so you can move faster.
Bolt on more engines.
You're making it longer, so you can hold more passengers.
Okay.
Or you can.
You're upgrading an aircraft actually tile thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. And you also can add routes, because there's the center of the country, and then basically it makes sort of an H pattern of just universal travel that anyone could go there. But a lot of the shorter routes are different parts, they're regional airlines. And so my one is red, as it was good at being north, going to O'Hare to Seattle, where other people had to go down to San Francisco, down to Denver, and then over to San Francisco, and then up, and then or down to LAX, and then up to stuff like that. And so you can get extra routes. You can buy extra routes, so you can then move things quicker.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. So it does have a 15-second with 3 players, or 30 seconds for more real-time aspect. And that's basically
I heard there was a real-time.
So really what it is, you're sort of talking about what you're doing, and then you have 15 seconds if you're playing with 3 players to do what your actions are going to do. And most of the time, you do things and then you're like, you do it all in like 10 seconds and you're like, okay. And so some people are like, why is this real time? And I think the reason why is because when you go to get a passenger, you don't know where they're going until you pick them up. And so I think if that stuff wasn't real time, because you get to do things in any order you want, if there wasn't a time, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this, go pick this person. Oh, they want to go to Atlanta? Let's just sort of figure out the best way we can get to Atlanta. And you could sort of AP it to where, because it says 30 to 60 minutes,
Yeah.
I'm sure you could easily add an extra 30 minutes just from being like, oh, let's figure out exactly how you want to go. Whereas you're like, you pick them up, and then you're like, oh, crap, I'm going to go over here, and then try and figure out after that. But the actual execution phase is like, you know, the most important part is timed so it doesn't drag that part of the game down. Does that make
Or
sense?
else it would just turn into Spirit Island.
Exactly, yes.
And just take forever.
100%, yes.
Cool.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. It was fun. We barely won. At the end of the game, for every passenger you don't have like serviced all the way, for every 1 out of every 2 goes to the complaint pile. And if you ever have 3 complaints, your airline's shut down.
Oh, okay.
So it is not
If only it
realistic.
worked
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. And also, anytime passengers stayed at an airport and weren't picked up, they would get an anger token because they're like, I want to be on a plane. And if they ever got 4 anger tokens, they would then go to the complaint pile.
Okay.
So we had 5 left at the end of the game. And so we had technically 2 go to the complaint pile, but not the 3rd. And we're like, we win, yay.
Hooray.
Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. We all liked it.
Good.
And, yeah.
I remember Wes's early complaint was like, why is this co-op?
Yeah.
Why can't we just be like competitively doing this?
And it's like, no, halfway through, we just started being like, oh, this is getting harder. Then once you get into the 3rd phase, you're like, oh man, this is.
Oh no.
And it was like in the beginning, it was really just, I'm gonna sort of do my own thing. I'll drop this person. Near the end, it was like, okay, you have to get these people. You have to get
You
these
do
people
this,
from
you do
Dallas
this,
Fort Worth.
you do this.
You need to go to JFK, drop them off.
And then
and
I'll take them to San
I'm
Francisco.
going to pick them to take them to San Francisco where they want to go. And then it was just a whole bunch of bullshit like that. And it was just like, okay, these things come here. I'm just going to drop these people off. Somebody else deal with them. And
sounds a lot like Ponzi scheme.
Yes, it is. In a way, you're just trying to juggle. Yeah. It was very enjoyable.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got that for free.
Yeah. I know,
from
right?
them.
Yeah. And so after that, I just was like, Wes and CJ went to go get food, and I was like, I should get my bag so we could record.
Which we're doing right now.
Which we're doing right now. And I was like, when I was in my hotel, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go sit down for a second on the bed. You know what? Why don't I just lay down while this phone's charging? Why don't I just take a nap? And so I took a 3.5 hour nap.
Did you set an alarm at all?
No.
Nah, I'm just going to sleep until I'm done sleeping.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
Yeah. So what were you doing while I was doing that?
I was hanging around with CJ. We went over we sort of wandered, as is tradition. We went over to Indie Boards and Cards,
Right.
or whatever Indie Board Game Alliance
it's still
they're going to be called soon.
It's still that.
Yeah. And then we played the GenCon release, Exodus Parts Newveau, which is their new dystopian universe game. It's a hidden role.
Okay.
Shocker.
Yeah.
You are rescuers and hunters.
Okay.
And I think we talked about this when it was announced.
Yes.
But not much was out there that we read about, and then we didn't really research it after. But now it's out.
Yep.
It's similar-ish to a lot of other of their games. You have 2 different tracks. It goes 7 rounds. You have a rescuer track and a hunter track, and then you have a certain amount of like speed or how far ahead you are of the hunters,
Right.
which starts at like 5. You have 4 different characters, all have like unique player powers, but they're all fairly limited.
Okay.
Like everyone only has 2 health. Like one of the player powers was like take away a cover and heal one, or something like that. But cover is another life meter. If you lose cover, the rescuers automatically lose. If you lose health, depends on what faction they're from. If they're from the Rescuers, they lose. If they're from the Hunters lose.
Okay.
Otherwise, it goes to 7 rounds, and whoever has the most victory points. On each card is a speed, basically how much ahead you are of the Hunters, how many victory points the card is worth.
Gotcha.
If you lose health, if you lose cover. The leader plays a card, and then there is a end of the line. There was an interesting name for it that I can't remember off the top of my head. Basically, you're in the back guarding everyone that we're trying to rescue.
Right. Okay.
So where the deduction comes in is everyone puts out a card in clockwise order, face down, and then they tell whatever they want about what the card is, what the speed is, how many victory points, if there's any cover loss, if there's any health loss. You do that around. The leader will put. You vote for the leader. Yeah. You have a limited amount of vote tokens.
For the entire game?
For the entire game.
Okay.
So there are a limited supply. CJ spent way too many in the very beginning.
Shocking.
He spent 6 of the 9 in a 7-round game.
Was he making sure that you were or he was?
The what?
For voting.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I spent nothing because my power was I can spend 3 vote tokens and just become whatever that last train person is.
Gotcha.
Which is important. So the leader gets those 4 cards. They discard one of them at random. Well, not at random. They choose one person to be like, I don't trust you. Your card is discarded.
Okay.
You then shuffle those 3. You get a random card off the top of the deck.
Yep.
You look at all 4, and then you play one for the Rescuers.
Okay.
It's basically a variety of different arts on there. If there's 1 victory point, there's 1 person on the card. If there's 2, there's 2. If there's 3, there's 3.
Okay.
If it does damage, there's fire at the bottom of the card.
Okay.
And if it takes shield away, there's little drones at the top of the card.
Okay.
So it's always a combination of these different little art
Gotcha.
things. And if it's only speed, it's just it's just the background, which I only saw once.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's a ton of different variety of cards. Then they play one of those, and then discard the rest. Everyone gets back up to 2 cards, and then the person that's at the end of the train gets 2 cards off the top of the deck.
Gotcha.
They look at both of those, and then they put it where the hunters go. So
Gotcha.
they get to say what card the hunter gets.
Okay.
When you play the hunter card, that's how much they're catching up to you, how many victory points the hunters get. They still take away cover from the Rescuers, but and then whoever plays that hunter card can also lose damage to themselves. The real fiddly part about it is you go 7 rounds, and then you have 6 and 6 cards. And then you have your speed tokens at the top, which don't really change much. I think it's more of a difficulty meter.
Okay.
Like you start with 4, you start with 3, you start with 5, you start with 6. So it would be really easy. But you have to add up those up to 6 cards, add up those up to 6 cards, and then get the difference between the 2. And that's how close the hunters are to catching you.
Okay.
Which just doing a lot of counting and mathing between rounds is not great, because there's no meter to say, I have this many, I have this many. It would be nice if there was something like that, because you're constantly all right, we're at 23 and we're at 31. I need to play this number to make sure that they're not that close or closer, because maybe if I play a low number, they could get a high number.
Right.
But the demo guy said, well, it's basically it either doesn't matter at all or it really matters once. And I was like, that could be better.
Right.
The distance between the hunters and rescuers mechanic is too much, I think.
Okay.
It's just it's not enjoyable counting and keeping track of things without any sort of component to help me do that.
Right, yeah.
Or else you're just counting 6 cards that all have numbers between 2 and 5 over a bunch of different cards, and then comparing those 2 with the pool of tokens.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. That was overall, that was also the game.
Gotcha.
It was sort of
Meh.
I was all right. The player powers are very distinct, but like I can do it once or 3 times before I run out of resources to be able to do that.
So would you rather play some of their other social deduction identity games?
To be fair, it was more unique than any of their others are. I would probably like it at more player counts. We played it at 4 players, so it was just 2 and 2, so it was even.
How high can it go up to?
I think it was 8.
Okay.
So maybe at a higher player count, it could be interesting, more interesting. But then you outside of all of that, still the like distance mechanic.
Right.
I was like, meh, I don't feel like counting and mathing all the time. So after that, I went back over to Gray Fox, and I wanted to see Pocket Mars. Pocket Mars was their GenCon release. It's the gentleman demoing the game was very fast-talking. I'd sort of stepped over thinking that he was either wrapping up or starting a game. I wasn't sure. I think he had just finished explaining the game to one person, and then I showed up, and he was like, "You want to play?" And then 2 other people immediately showed up, and then it was a full crew, and he was like, "All right, we're just starting over. You're going to have to listen to this all over again." And he was like, "Yeah, that's fine." There's 5 different colors on Mars. There's 4 different player colors. They have nothing to do with each other.
Sounds about right.
You have black for the habitat, and then you have 4 different habitat modules that you can put your astronauts on.
Right.
Then you have a ship card in front of you that you move the astronauts from Earth to the ship, and then later you can move the or sometimes at the same time, you move from the ship to Mars.
Right, okay.
The ship is also where you have energy. You can use that energy for certain abilities that are on cards. The 4 different colors of cards have an immediate, they have numbers at the top.
Yeah.
You can play the card on into the discard, and it has kind of instant power on there, or it has a prepped power. To prep something, you have to put it face down in front of your spaceship, and then on the next round, you can play that prepped power.
Right.
But during any time, you can just take someone's prepped thing in front of them and be like, "I want that blue one. I'm going to play that blue card," but they're all face down, so you have no idea what that power is.
Gotcha.
But all the buildings have powers. You need to play. Some situation was higher, some situations lower. The habitats have numbers on them. If you play a lesser power, you can use the habitat power and the prep power. But if you're playing someone else's card, you can get the building power, but they still get their prep power.
Gotcha. Okay.
But if it's the wrong number, maybe you don't, because you don't know what number of building you're playing on that building.
Right.
But sometimes that power is hey, if you get an astronaut off of Earth onto your ship, if you still have another blue in your hand, but your hand size is 2. So
very specific.
Yes, you can have 2 preps and 2 in your hand. So if you played a blue card and it's hey, if you have another blue card in your hand, get an extra astronaut. I think I saw once you were able to move an astronaut from Earth straight to Mars without hitting the spaceship.
Oh, wow.
The game ends at the end of the round when all of someone's astronauts are on Mars.
Makes sense, yeah. Okay. That's sort of the goal.
Yes. Then there's 2 little rooms on each habitat. A lot of the powers are moving the astronauts between the 2 rooms.
Yep.
Basically, if you have an astronaut in room A, it's worth 1 point. If you have an astronaut in the, I think it was the general area, the crew area, and then the command center. If you have astronauts in the command center, they're worth more points. And then there's an endgame scoring. If you have 3 or more astronauts in one building, you get extra points. If you have 1 astronaut in each building, you get more points.
Okay.
Our game ran 16 to 21 or 15 to 21 points at the end of it, and it's quick. It's 15 minutes.
Gotcha.
It's basically just kind of playing cards down in front of you and picking cards out in front of other people, or using the little habitat powers to kind of discard and draw. Super quick. A lot of symbols and stuff. The text is maybe a little too small on the cards.
Was there a lot of text for their to necessitate it?
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of. I would have liked a larger font.
Okay. All right.
I won.
Yep. Nice.
I got 21 points. No one had ever played the game before, of course.
That's
Yeah.
And that none of us were playing with you. That's
Yes,
why you won.
that's why I won. See, I just have to play against other people.
Exactly.
I need new friends.
Yes, you do. For a variety of reasons.
It was fun.
Okay.
How
long did it take?
10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, that's what it is on the box.
Good. All right, good.
It's a quick game.
Okay.
It was enjoyable. I like the art. It's very colorful, bold. Like all of the cards are they look like schematics and stuff like that. Because you're prepping the modules to go to Mars and things like that. Energy was never a big thing for something I was doing, but I would play cards that would need energy. But no one was making like the most efficient things because we had just all played, just all learned. So picked up a copy. I'm looking forward to playing it again.
Nice. Cool.
Then I wandered around. Then I wandered over to Gameland Games to take a look at Tiny Epic Zombies, whether I wanted to pick it up or not. Actually had someone like walk me through what Tiny Epic Zombies was. It's kind of like moving through rooms in a mall. You have like a central, like it's, but it can be cooperative, competitive, semi-cooperative, semi-competitive.
Yeah, there's a lot of different choices. Yeah.
Yes, it can kind of be anything you want it to be, depending on what objectives you have.
Yeah.
It's a dice kind of game where you're smashing zombies or they're smashing you.
Yeah.
They're like kind of like chain spawning through the mall and things like that. You have different vehicles and they're item meeples and different rooms, and you're matching like certain equipments to certain rooms. If you use like a grenade, which is purple, in a purple room, it causes extra noise, which can spawn more zombies. Looks interesting. I mean, like all of their Tiny Epic games are very different.
Yes, they are.
I didn't kickstart it, and I think it was the first Tiny Epic game I haven't kickstarted in quite some time. Thinking of picking it up. I don't know.
Yeah, you get it tomorrow.
I have tomorrow.
Because you can still pick up the Kickstarter copy. So.
Yes. Tiny Epic Defenders 2nd edition and its expansion are there.
Yes.
It's hard for me to remember which ones I own.
I think you bought them last year.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Look to see when it came out. If it was out if you were able to pick it up last year, you picked it up.
Yeah. I don't think I did but there was a Tiny Epic Defenders expansion. I think I don't have that.
Okay.
They had playmats and stuff like for Tiny Epic Western.
Yep.
That sure would have been nice.
Yeah.
But
they had the Mechs too, right?
Yeah. So
Nice.
they had Tiny Epic Mechs there. They had the Mech meeples and some cards that you could see like what the power suit had and what the mech suit had. They're bigger than you would think. They were actually quite large.
Is all of that still going to fit in one box for them?
I don't. Yeah, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Like I think they disassemble, but putting those meeples in the box, I'm not sure.
Right.
Maybe it's going to be another sleeved box on top of the box to just hold the meeples.
Yeah.
But it's a programming game. They kind of went over little bits of like how the programming works that I don't remember off the top of my head right now. But there was like a weapon card that you can attach to the mechs that are on the cards in front of you. I assume that's the items that you put on there. The big mech can have 4 advanced items, but the regular power suits can only have 2 advanced and 2 basic.
Right.
But the big mech can't heal at all.
Yep.
Then the little ones can. And when you punch out of the big mech, someone takes over the big mech, and you're back in your little power suit.
Right.
Basically, just the box, 2 power suits, a mech meeple, and like 3 cards.
Sounds about right.
But I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that's all I saw at the convention.
For today, yeah.
That was the Expo Center.
Yes, yeah.
Did you see anything else?
No, not really.
Okay, good. So then I finally ate food.
Yep.
There's a famous burger place called Kuma in Chicago. There's also apparently one in Indianapolis. So we went to that for dinner this evening. Met Jake from Draft Mechanic over there.
Yeah.
Went with David, Ant, and Paul. And then we talked to the guy, and he was like, well, it's going to be about an hour and a half.
Oh, my God.
I guess it was the same area they went to yesterday or the day before.
Okay.
Because someplace they were going back to for margaritas or something like that. But there was a seat at the bar next to where Jake from Draft Mechanic was sitting. So I went up there and hung out with them, and I was like, oh, I can just eat. Fuck them.
Right,
I'm hungry. And so I ate there.
Nice.
I had a very spicy burger.
Okay.
It was called the Plague Bringer.
Okay.
It was garlic on pepper jack on raw jalapeno slices.
Okay. That's a combo.
Yeah. And it was like a garlic, it's like spicy garlic aioli sauce or something like that.
Was it good?
Very spicy.
Was it good?
It was good.
Okay.
I ended up taking the jalapeno slices off because it was going to be too much.
Gotcha.
I was not enjoying the amount of spice that was happening because they had like the diagonal slice.
Yeah. So they really give you a lot of
Yeah. But very good. Then they came back for their table, which wasn't an hour and a half. Their table was ready, and they wandered in not knowing their table was ready because the guy had remembered me and be like, oh, your table's almost ready outside. And I was like, I'm eating. I don't really care.
Right, yeah.
And then they just sat down at the bar, and one of the worst things about Kuma, they apparently have Malort there.
Ooh.
You can get a $4 Malort. I don't know if I assume it's a bottle, but it was definitely on the menu. Oh God. I did not have it.
Okay.
I hope they didn't either.
Right. Just knowing that it was there was bad enough.
Yes, bad enough. So got a ride back with Jake while they were busy drinking and eating. Because we had a bottle share event to go to. So a lot of the beers and stuff I had brought from Denver. A ton of people brought a ton of beer from all over the country.
Right.
Someone does regular work trips to Denver and had brought also a bunch of Denver beer.
Right. Yeah. You said you were pretty disappointed.
And I was like, oh, look at all those things that we can also just drink at home all the time anyway.
You guys gotta try this WeldWorks. And we're like, yeah, we know that one.
Oh, Odd 13?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see it. Yeah, it's at the local grocery stores.
Yeah. I see it all the time. Yeah. People brought a lot of sours.
They did.
Which I was like, but also people brought a lot of really other good, crazy stuff. Stephen Bonacore from Stronghold Games was there.
Yep.
He brought like beers from 91 and 95, like a Sam Adams, like double bock or something. Triple bock from 95. It was in a really weird sized bottle, like a 10-ounce bottle, an 8-ounce bottle.
Yeah.
And then he had another one from England.
Thomas Hardy's Ale.
Thomas Hardy's Ale from 91.
Which is funny. I looked at it, and in the back it said, feel free to cellar it or whatever for up to 25 years. And I'm like, it's past that date.
Yeah, that was the purpose of that beer, basically, to cellar it for that long. The Sam Adams was heavy, like dense. I don't remember seeing an ABV on it, but I'm sure it was very high. It tasted like thick molasses whiskey.
Okay.
And then, but the Tom Hardy's was really good.
It was good, yes. I happened to get there right at. I was like, oh, hey, then you're like, Zach, try this, and I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, that one ended up coming out really, really well. Mr. Bonacore ended up talking down the Sam Adams so much, and it ended up coming out better than he expected. But the other one ended up coming out like really, really, like holy balls, amazing. For a almost a 27-year cellared beer.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
It is.
And then we drank literally everything else.
Yeah, we did.
I brought a bunch of Epic pumpkin porter, barrel-aged imperial pumpkin porter, an imperial stout, the Big Bad Baptista, our favorites.
Yep.
And Wes brought a sour brainless on peaches,
Mm-hmm.
which I probably gave him.
Yes.
He had like a barley wine from our mutual friend. Jake from Draft Mechanic brought a bunch of Asheville Burial beers,
Those are
sours,
really good.
lots of sours, which I'm like, meh. I don't enjoy them as much as everyone else.
Right.
But a lot of really good beer that we drank a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were like, hey, we need to record a daily update podcast,
Yep.
and that's where we are now.
Yes, it is.
But during the meetup, the Brawling Brothers were there.
Yep.
We gave them a bunch of epic beer
Nice.
tastes. They liked all of it.
Uh-huh.
Everyone liked all of it, really.
Yeah.
I basically brought a bunch of really dark stuff because that's what we do in Bombers.
Yep.
And unless it's in Salt Lake, and
Yes.
then you can get everything else. But you can't. But I can't get that unless it ships almost immediately there, and it's unlabeled because
Right.
they label it all in Salt Lake anyways.
Right.
Then we were just kind of hanging out with everyone. Some new a new cast member from the Shuffle,
Mm-hmm.
ex Board Game Blitz member
Yes.
Cassidy
Yep.
was there hanging out from my old haunt in Columbus. Not that I know her from there,
Right,
but she
yeah.
also lives there.
Gotcha.
And then we met a gentleman from North Star Games that
Mm-hmm.
was just hanging out there.
Yes.
And we were chit-chatting with him, and I was like, why does North Star sound so familiar? Because my handler wasn't on hand.
I was on the other side
You were
of
on the
him.
other side, and I was like, oh, why is North Star? And then he started listing off, and I was like, oh, like Evolution.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Wits
that,
and Ragers.
I was like, oh, that Spiel des Jahres, like
Yeah, the
Quacksilver.
Yep, the Quacker game.
Yes. He gave us the card, which reminded me immediately of Jake's email about the Vacation Wizard.
Yep.
His title was Social Media Wizard, which I thought was entertaining.
It was, yeah.
I think that's it.
That's it. Yeah, pretty much. We got a demo of Sabotage tomorrow.
Sabotage with Tim Fowers tomorrow.
Yep, and then heading home.
Yes.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah. I have to drive back to Chicago
Uh-huh.
and spend the day until my 9:05 p.m. flight Monday.
Yep.
That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yes.
Sunday Fun Day at GenCon.
Yes.
It's going to be, I think the expo hall still opens at 10,
Mm-hmm.
and then closes a little early. I think it's like 4 or
Something
5
like that,
or
yeah.
something like that. And then the day is over.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll all be checked out of our hotels and being like, where do we put our stuff?
To be rolling my suitcase just around.
Just like everyone else.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, everyone just hauls around luggage all day Sunday.
Yep.
Maybe CJ and I will go get the car
Uh-huh.
and then park it somewhere close, and then we'll just keep our stuff in there.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll go park in the lot, the stadium lot.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
All right.
Is it over?
Let's end it. I want to go to sleep, and I got to edit still. So.
Yeah. At least we're recording in your hotel
That's
this
true.
time.
Yeah, but it's also, I don't know. Yeah, 2:17. No, thank you.
2:17 in the morning,
Uh-huh.
but it's Eastern time,
Yeah.
so it only feels like 12:17.
Yeah, no, I get that, but that also it's not like I can go to sleep and wake up in mountain time. So
That's fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, as always, I'm still Zach.
I'm too tired to think of one Jeff.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.